taking a bit of a break from our winter athletes to get back into summer, and I'm very excited for today's guest because people who listen and watch this show would know that I love athletes who can be good at more than one sport. It doesn't just have to be one, multiple sports. You know they're going to be a favorite of mine, and today's guest is one of those athletes. She's excelled in both taekwondo and track and field, an amazing career across her athletic journey, where she created history on many levels, the first ever American female to compete in para taekwondo and a national record holder in her event in track and field. She really has had an amazing career, and I'm so excited to learn about it on the show today. It's a pleasure to welcome to Off the Podium, Brianna Salinaro. Brianna, thank you so much for joining us on Off the Podium.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to chat to you because, as I just said in that intro, when I finally got through it, that we love athletes who can just compete in multiple sports. And your story is incredible to get to that. But I just want to start off with that fact. The first American to compete in para taekwondo on a national level. Like, that blows my mind that a country of America with so many great athletes, such a storied history at all levels of sport, that you're the first to do this. I mean, that has to be. Is that like the number one honor that you can never have that taken away from you, Brianna?
Honestly, I don't think about it in that way. I think because of my competitive nature, because once you're on the mat, it doesn't matter if you're the first or the last person to do it. So outside of competition, you look at it, yes, it's an amazing accomplishment. And I definitely, hold it very close to me, but I wouldn't say it's my biggest achievement that I'm proud of. So
we'll get to that perhaps throughout this interview. But I mean, your story, just even getting involved into taekwondo and sort of martial arts. I read that you sort of had an interest in martial arts growing up, and then got to this more so when you're about 14. What was it about martial arts that drew you to it, Brianna? And sort of, were there other ones besides taekwondo, or was taekwondo sort of that one that you always liked the best?
So when I was younger, I tried everything. I did every sport you could think of. And in kindergarten, my best friend did taekwondo, and he brought me with him, and I loved it. And then I didn't love it. I think I lasted about a month, and then I quit. And then when I was about 8 or 9, my 5th grade best friend brought me with her to like a bring a friend class, and that's kind of where it stuck. In between, I did karate. I always loved boxing. I say even now, if I didn't have cerebral palsy, I'd love to be like a boxer. I just find it so fascinating. But yeah.
And that's how it came about. What other sports were you sort of doing? Like, I mean, I love hearing all the different sports that people do as a kid, because we always do like 30,000 sports, don't we, when we're growing up?
Yeah. I think when you're a kid, you have to, that's when you learn what you like and what you're good at, what, things like that, what sticks. But I loved basketball. I actually wanted to be in the WNBA. Played soccer for a little bit, softball. Trying to think of anything else. I think those were my 3 main. Oh, gymnastics as well.
Great. And with these, so you mentioned like you wanted to be in the WNBA, but also I noticed they're all Olympic sports too, Brianna, like with sort of the Olympics. I mean, obviously the Paralympics, when you discovered that as well, like were these sort of always dreams growing up as well?
No, not at all. I was very insecure growing up because of my disability. It definitely had a large impact on my self-confidence. And I learned, like, my dad initially was like, oh, do you want to get involved in para sport? Like, I think that would be good for you, would be good for your confidence. And at the time, I was probably like, I was young, I was super young. And I was just like, no, like, I don't want to be seen on that stage. I don't want anybody to make fun of me. I don't want any of that. And then we wind up watching Paige McPherson at the 2012 Olympics. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, I'll never be able to do that. And at the time I was practicing taekwondo. So I don't know, it just resonated with me for some reason. And then watching the 2016 Olympics, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be at the next one.
Wow.
Like, I'm going to compete at the next games. And it was such a mind shift. But I wouldn't say growing up that the Olympics was ever on my radar. The Paralympics I didn't learn about until 2012, 2016. So
I always find it so amazing when we speak to Paralympians about kind of that that mindset about going to a Paralympics or into para sport, because we've had so many stories kind of similar to that, Brianna, where it's almost like, I don't want to use the word shame. I feel that's a bit too harsh, but it's kind of almost just that level of something different about an athlete who feels that's the path. And I feel now the more and more it gets exposed and the more attention we get every 4 years, particularly with the Paralympics, that seems to be going away a lot more. And I feel like a lot of athletes on this show will want to celebrate that fact that parasports isn't something to be ashamed of. If you want to get involved in that and push towards the Paralympics, things like that. So I guess that's my long-winded way of asking, Brianna. I mean, are you seeing that more so now, speaking to sort of younger girls and boys that maybe you didn't have that feeling as a kid, but you're seeing that change now that young people aren't feeling that way?
Absolutely. I agree. I think with the lead up to Paris, I think Paris was the largest viewed Paralympics in history. I think the stadium was packed almost every night, and that's just something you wouldn't have heard about 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago. It just wasn't on anybody's radar. And now it's not only on the radar, but like it's like look forward to. And just watching like track specifically, like the amount of athletes that are going viral and just like telling their stories and showing the process of getting from point A to point B. Like it's really just bringing exposure. And for them, they're having fun. They're just showing their story, but it's really just bringing such an impact to the Paralympic movement. And I do agree. It's not something to be ashamed of anymore. It's like we're real athletes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's even harder.
I was going to say, half the time you're better than it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying right now, the amount of things that you have to overcome to get to where you are, I mean, it's just incredible.
Right. And not to discount, what the Olympians do. And it's extremely hard. I'm not saying anything other than that, but add a disability to it, add daily pain, add therapies, add all those types of things that come with a physical disability. So, yeah, I would just say that like we're real athletes. Like there's no pity in that. There's no doubt or anything like that. So it's great to finally see it come to light.
100%, and just see that mainstream. It is mainstream. It's
right.
It's not a case of thinking it differently, and it's also the way that we see an Olympics be promoted and organized, right? Like it's all well and good to say the LA Olympics, the Milano Olympics. It's the Olympics and Paralympics, and it's that emphasis on both. And I mean, I know we're seeing that in Brisbane as well after what we're going to have with LA and everything along those lines. Just on para taekwondo though, because I mean, this is at least on the Paralympic level, it made its debut in Tokyo. We'll obviously get to your experience with that. But going back to my point about you becoming the first US para taekwondo athlete, what was the scene like when you were going up the ranks, Brianna? Because I can imagine if you are the first to compete for the US, then maybe it wasn't that solid. There wasn't a lot of competitors, or kind of what was it like when you were first making your way through the ranks?
It was extremely interesting because not only was I the first, but it was the first time it was included in a Paralympic quad, and the first time it was going to be on a Paralympic program. So it's those first 4 years are brand new to everybody, the organizers, the athletes, the coaches, like you name it. It's new for everyone. So you're kind of setting the path for the people to come behind you. But as I was coming forward, I was the only one with my disability across my weight division. Para Taekwondo is primarily for amputees, specifically upper limb amputees. And that's kind of something we got deeper in as the sport grew further and further. So it's something I'm definitely proud of, but there were a handful of competitions, especially in the very beginning, that I would just step on the mat and medal because there wasn't anybody to compete against. And I would get like, I'm blanking on the word. We'd just kind of do like an exhibition match just so that I'd have some kind of experience while being there. But the first 2 or 3 events, I didn't have anybody to compete with.
Wow.
So.
I mean, I mean, look, on paper, as somebody who I would love to achieve something in life, Brianna, like that, a great free medal, fantastic. But you don't want that. You don't want that as a competitor. You don't want to just hand it to you too. You want to fight for it, like literally in your sports. I mean,
100%.
How is that to like kind of have that happen to you?
I was so young when it first started. I think I was 17 at the time, maybe 16. And I just knew that it was going to get better and it was going to get bigger. So I didn't think twice about, oh, I just like walked onto the medal and got a mat. Yeah, I'm sorry, I walked onto the mat and got a medal. It was disappointing in the moment just because you train all that time and you're so excited because this is your debut. Um, but um, you know, as time went on, it got bigger and it got harder, and there were a lot more people. And even now, it's the biggest it's ever been.
Mm.
So, I just had to be patient with it. And I had to be patient with myself too. Like, I was very much like developing the sport, getting stronger, and really just realizing that this is a real path I can take. So, um, in the moment, like I said, disappointing, but I knew there was greater things to come.
I've read on a lot of your interviews, Brianna, that you've always said that you dream of being a 3-time Paralympian, and ultimately you achieved that first one in Tokyo. Always love hearing from a guest on the show what that moment is like when you're confirmed, when you 100% know you're going. And do you have a moment that really hits you that you're a Paralympian? Is it the moment you're chosen, the moment you step on the mat, opening ceremony, like kind of that whole experience that brought you at that time?
Sure. So my story is a little crazy because with Taekwondo, there's multiple ways to qualify. The way I qualified is through the top four world rankings, meaning I gained enough world ranking points to be in the top four, and the top four automatically qualify. They automatically go. And in August of 2019, we fought at the Pan American Games. And I remember thinking to myself, if I don't win gold at this event, I'm not going to make the Paralympic team, because I needed these points to secure my spot in the top four. And I didn't win. I lost both fights, and I was distraught. I was ready to quit. I just was ready to hang it up. And my coach calls me 2 weeks later. He's like, "Pack your bags. We're going to Italy. You need to go to Italy." I'm like, "Okay, let's go." And in Italy, I needed an athlete to lose their fight before me. I believe it was the quarterfinal fight, in order for me to secure enough points to secure that top four spot. And it happened.
Wow.
It happened. And I just remember breaking down in tears. And unfortunately, the coach that was with me, coaching me throughout my whole quad, and came to Tokyo with us, he wasn't there in that moment. And that was something that, like, we FaceTimed and we were like screaming and, celebrating, but it was something that I really wanted him to be there in the moment for. Unfortunately, he couldn't be, but yeah, it was just a lot of tears. And then what was even crazier was we knew that, but we couldn't announce anything until World Taekwondo made their announcement in January of 2020. So it had to kind of be, nothing was for certain, and it had to be kind of quiet. So internally, like, I celebrated. And then I remember I was in the middle of a personal training session, and I got the call from my coach, like, "It's confirmed, we're going." And I just couldn't stop smiling, like, the whole session. Like, it was just like, it, wasn't real. And then walking out I don't remember much actually from my fight in Tokyo. I don't. It's very, very much a blur. But I do remember walking out to the mat and just being like, "Oh my God, this is it." Like, we're here. We made it. Like,
You're
this is
here.
insane.
Yeah. And a bit of extra weight, of course, too, from January 2020 to then 2021 with the delay. So, I mean, what was that period like? And did you find that extra time helped, or I guess hindered you when you eventually got to Tokyo?
I was so grateful for that extra year, because it turns out that once, like, March 2020 is when COVID really hit, and that's when training died down everywhere. Couldn't go anywhere. We were training. I ordered like what we call a bob. It's like a human kickstand. Excuse me. And we were, training via Zoom. And I just remember my hips started to hurt really badly. And I have cerebral palsy. My hips are going to hurt. Like, there's no, that's normal. It comes with it. But this was just on another level. And I wound up going to the doctor, and I tore both my labrums in my hips. And I had impingements in both. And impingements make your muscles tighter on top of my muscles that are already tight from the cerebral palsy. So and it made sense to me, because in 2017, I was doing so well. I was scoring more, like, I was medaling more. I was just I was really felt like I was at the top of my game, and it slowly like dwindled, and it made sense. Like both my hips are now extra tight from, something else. So I took the time to get the necessary surgeries to fix that, do the therapy that was needed to fix it. And I could say I went into Tokyo in the best shape possible. So
One of those extra benefits, and because it's always sort of different stories I find when people on the show talk about that, because but for you obviously to recover and sort of physically be okay going into that. Just you touched on the fact that you're the only one with cerebral palsy in that, and you're going up against athletes who are, amputees, things like that. Like in a sport like taekwondo, just how much extra difficult is that for you? Because like I can sit here and think, well, if you've got both limbs, you're going to be more of an advantage to do that or leg. But like, I mean, again, I know nothing on this level, Brianna. So like, explain to me like how challenging that is for you facing athletes who aren't on that same level of what you're obviously going in with.
of course. So to start the answer to that question, I need to explain what cerebral palsy is.
Please do.
And that is a neurological disability that affects your limbs. And everybody's different. There's a spectrum. Not everybody has it the same. But for me specifically, I have what's called spastic diplegia. So it primarily targets both my legs. Everything from my hips down is just abnormally tight. And that comes with, balance, impairment, coordination, things of that nature. And that's all you need in Taekwondo. Like that's everything that makes Taekwondo athletes successful. So I don't understand where the passion came from because it's so opposite. But I think I tried to use it as a way to overcome or conquer my cerebral palsy. It was like, okay, if I can do this, then like CP doesn't matter because this is the ultimate way to conquer it, right? And it helped. It increased my flexibility. It increased my balance. Like physically there was a lot of positives to it. So and I just fell in love with it. I remember like watching one of my teammates make the national team in 2013 at nationals and going, I want this. Like we were up at 1 a.m. screaming, celebrating. Like it was such a moment. And I was like, I want to be that person, So, but in terms of fighting people that don't have the same disability as me, I mean, I grew up doing that. I grew up fighting able-bodied because um, there was no para at the time, and um, I can say it definitely took a toll on my mental health for sure. Just because I trained just as hard, if not harder. I made a ton of sacrifices to make it work, and looking back on it now, I've been removed from the sport now for 4 years or so, 3 years. It was never gonna like I I was never gonna walk away with a medal
Mm.
as much as I wanted it. And I hate to say it because it sounds such a sad thing, but in reality, these people who are upper limb amputees, they have perfect flexibility, if not, even better because it's just they're athletes, so they're primed and their brain fires the signals perfectly, whereas mine doesn't. So I think it was such a learning experience, and it really like filled me with passion for something, and it taught me a lot. And it was it was history made. Like I'll never regret it ever. I think it was fantastic. Do I wish I got more out of it medal wise? Absolutely. I trained every day. Like I wanted to be the gold medalist. We all do.
Yeah.
That's the goal when you're an athlete. And I truly believe if I wasn't removed from the sport and they let me compete another 4 years, there's another weight division that they have since added. And I think I would have been a lot more successful in that just because the people I were fighting, like I was in middleweight. So there's heavyweight, lightweight, middleweight. I was in middleweight. So a lot of the heavyweights were cutting to the middleweight. But I was too light to cut to lightweight. It just wouldn't have been healthy. So I'm fighting all these people that are super tall and I can't reach as it is. So I'm struggling, But
Yeah.
now they've added two more weight classes. So I tend to do a lot better against athletes who were of the same height, if not similar height. So I would have loved to see how I performed in that weight category. but it is what it is.
It's,
So,
and thank you for explaining that, because I think I mean, one thing that I still remain very ignorant on, Brianna, and I learn on this show is
sure.
appearances are deceiving. That I can sit here and go, well, this looks easy, this isn't, or this looks different, and it's obviously not. And a classic example, we had Noelle Lambert on not too long ago, and she sort of explained on a similar level of that, you know, it's almost impossible for her to win a medal in her event at the Paralympics just based on who she's up against and how they sort of balance out those different disabilities and everything to kind of make it on that level. And it's sort of it's very interesting to think of that as another hurdle and a challenge that you have to kind of overcome in your sport to do that, because it's just not that way in able-bodied sports sometimes, is it? Because it doesn't work that way. Yeah, I mean, you touch on the fact that with not being able to compete anymore, because essentially you couldn't go on in para taekwondo because
no,
basically you weren't allowed to tell us what happened there. Why are you no longer able to compete in it essentially after Tokyo?
Sure. So they had a classifier, I guess through the whole first quad, so 2016 to 2020. She was performing a case study on all the athletes following our progress. And ultimately, once it came time for Tokyo, the case study was published, and she published that it was not safe for athletes like myself with cerebral palsy, or like Evan Medell, who was world #1, by the way. He's won more gold medals than any para athlete you'll ever meet, in Taekwondo at least. It wasn't safe for us because we have neurological disabilities or physical disabilities that limit us from blocking correctly, or, you know, we're more subject to injuries. But I'll tell you now, throughout my time in Taekwondo, I never sustained an injury specific to my disability. I sustained normal athlete injuries. Athletes get injured. And I would say even injury-wise, like other than the torn labrums, which I'm pretty sure I had before I seriously started competing, there wasn't anything massive. Because para taekwondo compared to able-bodied taekwondo, you're allowed to kick to the head, whereas para taekwondo, you're not. So we're not, I mean, there were a few instances where athletes would, you know, slip up with their foot and accidentally, you know, knock somebody out, but it was very, very rare. So that's really where in my opinion, the danger came from. But again, it's not part of the sport. So I didn't see, you know, and honestly, they also say that, you know, an athlete with 2 arms versus an athlete with 1 doesn't look appealing to the IPC or whoever's viewing, which I understand. Like, you want to make it appealing, I get it, but it is what it is. In a way, it's a blessing in disguise. In another way, I wish it never happened. It's very, you know, there's a lot of emotions tied to the decision, but ultimately it came down to safety and appeal. So,
because at the end of the day, you fought so hard to get there. You fought so hard to do everything that you've talked about to reach a Paralympics, represent your country, create all that history, and then have somebody basically fill in a Word document and send it off and go, yeah, nah, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's just like, I can't even imagine what that is like when you hear that decision laid out. Like your entire career to that point comes to a halt through no fault of your own.
Yeah, it was depressing. It was. I think after Tokyo, because up until I moved to Oklahoma to train with the Paralympic coach about 2 or 3 months prior to leaving for Tokyo. And we were training 2 to 3 times a day. And then I come home from Tokyo, and we knew prior to Tokyo that most likely my disability was going to be removed. So we kind of had an awareness. And it made me appreciate Tokyo more, because I was like, okay, if I'm going to end my career, I get to end it at you can't go any higher. I'm at the highest level. So that in itself is an honor. And I do appreciate that. I was grateful for it. But to go from training every single day for something that you love, despite the losses, despite, you know, being at a disadvantage with a different disability, like I truly, truly love the sport. So to go from doing it every single day, multiple times a day, to go home and do nothing, like literally nothing, and not know where you're going to go next. and not know what to do, because my plan from the moment that I got, that I knew that like this was going to be, my road to go down was 2016, I'm sorry, 2020, 2024, 2028, all in this sport. I never looked to another sport. So to have that kind of ripped away and know that I was so young at the time too, like I have so much more to give as an athlete. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where it left me.
Before we get to ultimately your switch into track and field, I've got to ask you, Brianna, your
Sure.
experiences outside of the competition in Tokyo. Obviously, a very unique Paralympics in terms of COVID and all that kind of stuff. But are you still getting involved in things like pin trading, uniform, like just the vibe on the
Yeah.
ground, village life, kind of like what was all that like, the experience?
Honestly, look, I have nothing to compare it to. Because we didn't, we weren't in 2016. Unfortunately, I didn't make 2024. But I think for the games that was hosted, they did a really good job. Uh, the organizers and the people that the volunteers and the people that kind of helped us put it together. We did a lot of pin trading. We weren't allowed to leave the the village unless we were going to practice or going to compete. So that was hard. We weren't allowed to go watch other sports, but we did have like what's it called? Like a center, at least in our country building, where we can go watch collectively as long as we had masks on and things like that. So I think it was the best it could have been in the moment. Um, and I truly enjoyed it. I mean, we did just like doing the fitting for the ceremonies and things like that. Unfortunately, we couldn't go to opening ceremonies because we were supposed to be there for about a month, I believe, month and a half. And we wind up only being allowed to go towards the end of the games because of COVID. So we were only there for 11 days. So we couldn't go to opening, but we could go to closing. Um, so there were a lot of restrictions. Um, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
That's the
It was
main thing.
fun.
That's the main thing. Did you
Yeah.
did you have a favorite pin? Like, what was a favorite pin that you ended up getting?
Um, that's a good question. I loved our pins, to be honest. Not there's not like any specific pin that comes to mind, to be honest. I'm sorry to
No,
disappoint,
look, I've got
but
to ask the burning question.
yeah.
I like those ones, though, the national identity pins, because like I know when I was in Paris and we were given so few Australian pins. Like I think I was given like 2 sets, and I was going to keep one
Mm,
for myself because I'm with you. They were very nice pins. I'm like,
sure.
well, I want these. So that leaves you with 5 left to trade. And I swear to
Right.
God, every day that I'd be walking around in an Australian uniform, 50 times a day, got any pins, got any pins, got any pins? I'm like, I don't. I literally don't.
Yeah.
I had 5 and they're all
Right.
gone. And I'm going to trade them. I did trade for a Team USA pin because I wanted one. But
Yeah.
you want to save them right, when you get to certain ones to
Right.
do that. Do you
Yeah.
put things like that on display, like sort of pins or like uniforms or anything like that, or accreditation, things like that from Tokyo?
Yeah. I had my uniform because what was special about our uniforms was nobody else had them. It was the first time that World Taekwondo introduced that specific
Oh
type of
wow.
uniform. So we were the first to fight in it. I think except for the Olympians who went a couple weeks prior to us.
Hmm.
So um, I had my uniform on display for a while. Um, my world championship medal I keep on display as well, as well as my gold medals from the Pan American Games in 2023. But everything that like it truly has to have meaning, like deep meaning for me to like have it displayed. I always keep it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, it just might not make an
There's a
appearance.
level of a
So
box or a shelf or a
right,
frame, right? There's kind of
right,
like tiers of
right.
what you have that. You're glad you brought that up. I forgot to mention the 2017 World Bronze Medal, and I touched on the very beginning, sort of things you're most proud of, I guess, in your career, Brianna. And we'll get to the medals at the Pan Am Games as well. But like just a bronze medal at a World Championship, I mean, that's got to be up there, right?
Oh, it's probably one of my even, making the Paralympic team is up there as well, but the bronze medal is very close. Just because of like, again, like the disability difference. It wasn't expected. I didn't expect it. Like I knew I trained hard. Like I, had the best mindset going forward that I could, but you have to have some sort of realism when you are going against people that are not of your level. Um, and to come away with a bronze medal, like it really like lit a fire in me, and it really just like enhance the passion and like even talking about it, like it just, I don't know, it makes me smile. Like I love it. So
And you can literally say you
yeah,
are like top 3 in the world at something. Not
yeah,
many people can
yeah.
say that, Brianna. Like,
No,
that's pretty cool, I think, to be able
thank you.
to say that. Track and field. So after everything that happens in Tokyo, obviously you can't sadly go on in para taekwondo. Track and field. I did read, and I always love it when I see things like this, that you actually hated running. This is something you didn't like. So I've got to ask then, how the hell do you end up in a sport that you hate, pursuing this as your next dream?
So I think when you look at track, there's so many components. Like there's long distance runs, there's 100-meter sprint, there's everything in between, and then there's the field events. And it was really just educating myself on like what I could do and what I could compete in. And my specific classification is only allowed to compete in the 100, the 200, and the shot put.
Wow.
So yeah, that's it. That's all I'm allowed to do.
So you basically got to work out, can you run or throw something heavy, essentially? That's what you got to work out.
Exactly. Basically.
Yeah.
And the 100 and the 200, they're sprints. Like you're done in seconds, literally seconds. So I'm sorry if that was loud.
Can't hear it. That's good. We like it when these things can't be heard in the background, so that's fine.
Okay, good. So, I figured with Taekwondo, Taekwondo is a very explosive sport. You already have those fast twitch fibers developed. I was like, this may be a good transition for me. I'm explosive, and if I could fight for 5 minutes in a ring, I can run down 100 meters straight and give it my best for however long that may take me. And specifically, like what got me into it was actually watching Nick Mayhew. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he made the transition from soccer to track and field, and we have the same disability, not the same, specific type, but we have cerebral palsy. And just watching him make that transition, I was like, oh, if he could do it, like I could at least try it, So.
And that's where it came from. And was it also keeping that dream alive, back to the dream of 3 Paralympics?
100%.
And also because you get that taste of it right in Tokyo, and all of a sudden you just want to keep going. You just got to transition, right?
100%. Yes, that's it. When I was in Tokyo, I was like, because Tokyo as well, as great as it was and as great as the setup was and things like that, it didn't, you don't get the full experience because of COVID. So I wanted that full experience. And not only did I want that full experience, I was so young when we left Tokyo.
Still are so young, Brianna. Come on, you still are.
Sure. Thank you. But, back then I was like, I still have so much more to give. I have so much, like, I can still, do so much more in this realm of things. And what I liked about track before I even started was that they have so many different disabilities that can compete. And within the disabilities, they have so many breakdowns and classifications. There's 4 separate standing cerebral palsy classifications and 4 separate wheelchair cerebral palsy classifications. I'm coming from a sport that doesn't even account for cerebral palsy, at least in sparring. In the other form of Taekwondo, it does, but that's not on the Olympic level. But regardless, I was like, wow, like I'm going to not only compete against people with cerebral palsy, but like my specific type of cerebral palsy. Like, what's better than that? You can't. So that's kind of where track like ignited like that spark for me, was just, it was really inclusive and fair, it seemed like.
Were there other sports that sort of catered to that as well that you kind of considered, or was track the only one?
I briefly I remember, like, I call it, while I was in Tokyo, I was like sport shopping. So I was like talking to the other coaches and like my Taekwondo coach. Yeah, like it was just kind of like, what can we get our hands on? What can we see? And we couldn't see much because we couldn't go watch anything. But regardless, I did talk with a para weightlifting coach.
Okay.
For a moment. But if it doesn't ignite that spark in me, I just, I can't.
You don't want it to just be a chore. Like you're trying to do something that
you want to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember your first time on the track? You said you didn't like running, but like, Do you sort of have that first tryout and go, yeah, this is shit, I'm going to need some work here? Or are you like, oh, this isn't too bad. I think I can, learn to love this maybe.
So I I sustained an injury in Tokyo. I came home and I decided I was like, I'm taking a month off everything. I'm not going to physical therapy. I'm not going to weightlifting. I'm not doing anything. I just need to chill out because my sport just got taken from me. I don't know what I'm doing next. I just need to breathe, right? And about the time that I was ready to kind of get back into things, I bent down one day and I just got this shooting pain down both my legs, coming from my back. And I remember thinking, if I don't sit down, I'm gonna pass out. And it was a 2-year long injury.
Wow.
And there's no specific diagnosis. I went through probably 8 or 9 doctors to get some kind of relief. It wound up to just be a severe muscle spasm that wasn't letting go. So I was out of sport for a year and a half to almost 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And I recruited a track and field coach locally just to kind of get a taste of it. And then it it kind of opened my eyes a little bit, but I was I know there's more to this. And he was an able-bodied coach. He wasn't a para coach. So I wanted to work with somebody that knew more about the disabled side of things. And I wound up just DMing the Paralympic coach on Instagram, and we wind up working together remotely. And that was fantastic. I can't say I hit the track and was oh, I love this, because I went out for my first meet, prior to nationals or anything, and I was so embarrassed. I ran a 40-second 200 meter, and I was oh my God, no.
Wow.
I'm good. Yeah.
That'll do.
Yeah. So, and for me, I promised myself that if track ever became what taekwondo was mentally, in the sense that I don't feel I can keep up with the people, there's not a real standing, I would depart from it, because I just didn't want to do that again. I really want to, as all athletes do, I want to be the best. I want to be the strongest. I want to, really show what I can do. And if that wasn't going to be the sport that I can do it, then I'm done. But I went home. I continued to train. It was way too early to make that decision. Way, way, way too early. And then I went back to California about 2 months later, and I won nationals in the 100 meter. I set the American record. I did come in third in the 200 meter, but that story gets better as well. And
still
then I was just
not bad.
okay, I could do this. Yeah. So it was an eye opener for sure.
I guarantee you that 40 seconds in the 200 would still probably lap me in the 200 meter, Brianna. I don't think the last time I ran a 200 meters, I think I was dead last in the lowest division of my high school. So that was,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, never been my strong suit. But I mean, all that just makes your story even more incredible, because I was going to touch on the fact that you only had a 3-year turnaround, of course, from Tokyo to Paris, because obviously we had lost a year, so that made it closer. But to then essentially have 18 months, 2 years off, to then even get it up, and then all of a sudden
I only had a year and a half.
That's insane
basically.
To think that. And to what you've achieved, you touched on the national record. You go on to the Parapan Am Games in Chile and win 2 gold medals. You then set another national record at the trials ahead of Paris. And this is only in such a short amount of time. Did something all of a sudden click and go, shit, I've been doing the wrong sport for the last, I should have been doing this when I was younger?
I do think about it, but when I was younger, I hated any form of running, sprinting, long distance. I couldn't get myself to do it. And I was not confident enough to join an able-bodied track team. Just wasn't happening. I think it came to me at the time that it needed to come to me, if that makes sense. Do I wish I did this alongside taekwondo? Yes, because I'd be in a lot better position now. But I didn't know, and I can't fault myself for something I didn't know at the time. But I can't lie. I'm very much in a state of doubt at the moment with track. So
why is that? What's leading you to feel that way?
So let's go to the Pan American Games in 2023 in Chile. I'd only been training for not even a year at that point. And I went into it knowing that I was going to win the 100 meter. There was no doubt in my mind that I was coming home with the gold medal for that. But the 200 meter, I was like, I could go either way. I don't really think I'm going to take it, but we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm there, so I'm going to do both events. So my 200 meter was first. And the day before, 2 days, 2 or 3 days prior, we were practicing, and my coach was timing me, and I was hitting decent times, and I was like, "Oh, like this, maybe I could take this, And I run the 200 meter. I win, and I'm just like overcome with emotion. Um, and I think that no, was that the one I set the Pan American record in? It was a new American record and potentially a new Pan American record, but don't quote me on that one. Um, and then I had to rest and like regroup. And like 2 or 3 days later, we ran the 100 meter, and I knew but I actually performed worse than I thought in that 100 meter. Regardless, new American record, gold medal.
Not
I
bad, not
couldn't
bad when
be
you do
any
worse.
happier. Right. I just like thinking about how much time had gone into the sport
Yeah.
and like how much I had achieved. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna make the Paralympic team and maybe I'll even medal. Maybe. So it was we projected that I would potentially, because within my first year of track, I cut 7 seconds off my 200 meter.
Wow.
And yeah. And I went from 16.9 to 15.9, I'm pretty sure,
Wow.
within like a 6 or 7 month period in my 100 meter.
That's a lot in 100 meters.
So
It cut a second off your time.
Yeah, a lot. And I just thought that if I continued down this path, like I'm still so new, there's still so much to learn. Like I'm just going to keep shredding times. And by the time we get to Paris, like I'll be medal ready. We thought for sure, I can't say for sure, but we did think that like a bronze medal in the 200 was like attainable. And coming from Tokyo, where there was like no medal, I was like, oh my gosh, bronze medal, like that's fantastic. And then the lead up to LA, that's going to be gold. And but USA Track and Field, the way it works is that they set standards to make teams. And I was always just a little bit behind the A standard at that point in time. My A standard at that time was 15.5, and I had run a 15.9 at the Pan American Games. So I thought, not knowing, being so new to USA Track and Field, that my standard was going to stay the same going into Paris, but it drastically changed the year of the games. It went from 15.5 to 14.4. And I knew that was my legitimate shot in making the team at the time. The 200 meter just seemed too far out of reach. I think I had to cut like four more seconds off, and I didn't know if that was attainable. So once I moved to the training center, and about 2 weeks in, the standard changed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, the story just took a totally different turn. Not saying it's not attainable because you don't want to think that way, but to go from 15.9 to 14.4 in the span of 7 months, like I don't even think it was 7 months at that point. It was January to July, so 6 months. Yeah, it was just it was too short of time, I think.
Because essentially you set a national record at the trials, and I'm looking on that going like, well,
I did.
Come on, that's you're going to Paris, but obviously because it's not hitting that target that Track and Field US have set, that is essentially what doesn't get you on the plane then.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Wow. So what happened was at trials, I plateaued my whole season. I did not perform well, in my opinion. I really struggled throughout the season leading up to Paris. I think mentally that change of the standards just really got in my head. And I moved to California. This was like my all in. I was all in on the sport. And it may just have been too early. We were also competing in a lot of able-bodied settings, and that, brought about a lot of insecurities for me. And I'm ashamed to admit that, because at this stage in the game, especially as a professional athlete, you have to be able to manage that. You can't let that overtake. And I think there were times that it overtook my mindset, and it really did cost me. But fast forward to trials, in my mind, my mom's like, "Do you want me to come?" Like, Mom, I'm not gonna make this team. Like, don't worry about this. Like, don't spend the money. Like, I'm gonna go because I have to go. But don't bother. Just put it on TV. We're good. Like, you know. So, um, getting ready for my 100 meter, and you don't want to walk into anything thinking you're not gonna make it. You want to walk in thinking that you're gonna make it because there's no point in being there if you think otherwise. And the way trials worked was it was a percentage of a standard. So if you hit a high enough percentage of that initial standard, which is 14.4, you make the team, but you're essentially competing against all the other women across all disabilities to make that team because we only have so many slots.
Yeah.
So my coach is walking me to the call tent for the 100, and he's like, all you need is 15.7. Like, I did the math. And a couple weeks prior, I had run a 15.8. So I'm like, okay, like I could do this. The week before trials, I ran one of my slowest times ever. I ran a 16.4, and I was just like, oh my God, like, mentally, I was just not in a good headspace. But regardless, we're walking to the call tent, and he's like, okay, 15.7, like, should get you on the team. I'm like, okay, we could do that. We could do that. And I cross the finish line, and I'm pacing, and I hear 15.73, and I just like break down because in my head, I jumped a little bit too quickly. I made my second Paralympic team, 2 different sports, and I spent a whole year thinking I wasn't going to make this team. So I just was so overwhelmed with emotion because financially things went very far to the left. With that sacrifice of moving to California, like I had like come to so many different struggles that were outside of track, deciding to make this, like, I'm all in for this year. So it just really all came to me in that one moment. I'm like, oh my God, I hit, I made the team. And not only did I make the team, I broke my 100-meter record twice, and I broke my 200-meter record once.
Wow.
And my world ranking was 8. There's 9 lanes.
Yeah.
At
plenty of space
at the Paralympics. Right. So, and like you would think in a setting like that, you want the top 8 or top 9, right? But that's not how it works because you're competing against like your teammates essentially, across all disabilities to obtain one of those 40 slots or whatever the number is. So I celebrate, crying the whole 9 yards. I go do the drug testing we need to do for, setting records and things like that. And everyone went out that night to celebrate. And I couldn't. And I just went home and I was talking to like everybody. I didn't go home. I went to the Airbnb and I was talking to everybody at home, and because I didn't know, like we were going to find out the next day.
Yeah.
And the next day they have like the formal announcement, and I'm sitting there and they're going down the list, and I didn't know if they were going by last name or first name. So they go through B, and I slightly get disappointed because I didn't hear my name, and then they hit S. And I'm like, okay, like,
here we go.
Okay, they're going by last name. Like, we're good. And then I just deflated. And everyone else in my training group made the team. I did not.
Wow.
So it was a very mentally challenging year. Very mentally, financially, so like all of it. Every aspect that could have been challenging, inside and outside of track, was challenging. So I've just been, since that happened, I trained at the center for an additional 3 months. Maybe 4. And then I decided to move back home in January.
And this is New York. Home's New York?
Right. Home is New York.
Home is New York. Which do you then find it like, because you mentioned all your teammates make it, so I'm sure you're happy and you want to support them, but do you even get the courage to watch the games? Because I can imagine that's very hard.
I watched the games.
Okay.
I was absolutely watching the games. Yes. I was cheering them on every second. Look, they like supported me in every way that they could. So it didn't feel right to not.
Mhm.
And plus, genuinely, I'm curious. I want to see how they
Yeah.
do, what things look like. And I was also watching Taekwondo, of course, because, I know a lot of people in Taekwondo. I'm following the sport, very closely. And I wanted to be there in person to celebrate with the teammate that I went to Tokyo with. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. So yeah, I watched the games. There was no question. I wasn't not going to watch the games.
We're now obviously talking in August 2025, so about a year or so after that's happened. You're sort of mentioning just sort of your mixed feelings right now on the sport. But the desire, though, does that fuel you a little bit more to go towards LA? Because I'm just saying as well, you only had like a bit over a year to get to those games, really, and you were that close.
Right.
Now, I mean, we've still got 3 years right now. Plenty. Come on, you'll be beating Noah Lyles by the time we get to LA. Come on, let's be honest.
Yeah. So there's a lot of factors that come to mind when LA is brought up. I think I owe it to my younger self because that was always my plan, and I don't ever want to look back when I'm older and go, oh, what if I did go again? Like, what would would I have made it? So yes, I do plan on competing in LA. I have started training again. Now I took a very long break. But I'm back in training. I have a new coach, and I'm very excited to kind of see where this goes. But yeah, I mean, I think the question, I don't ever want that question to be unanswered. So, yeah.
I
it's
feel a bit
definitely
more
the plan.
comfortable asking a year removed. Like it's sort of one of those questions that like it's,
Yeah,
a
of
month
course.
after the Olympics or the Paralympics, athletes just like, oh, shut up, I'm having a break. Like, come on, I don't want to think
Right.
about that. But it's sort of, I feel we're at that level now and it's also a home Paralympics, Brianna. Like this is
That too.
in
1,000%.
front of your your family, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I mean, that adds just that extra level, right?
100%. Yeah. And initially that's where I wanted to retire. So to like end my Olympic or Paralympic career, excuse me, which may not happen. But to, the thought initially was to retire there.
Come down
And
under for the
what better
third one,
way
then
to
you can retire in Brisbane,
Well,
Like,
that might be a different sport.
hey.
We're thinking.
All right.
So,
well, I mean, what
yeah.
other sports are we thinking? Is it the weightlifting route or is there other ones here? Break some news to us, Brianna. I'd love to know.
So Paris standing tennis is on the rise.
Okay.
Look, it's very, very new. I haven't even picked up a rack. Like I haven't even spoken to these people yet. But it does look like there's, cerebral palsy is included. And I know it's not on the 28 roster, but it may be on the 32 roster. So yeah, I would love to, if it was on the 28 roster, I think I'd be training for that right now, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But yeah, it definitely excites me.
I mean,
we'll
look, I said at the very beginning we love athletes who do multiple sports. That's your third one. I mean, that wouldn't be bad, right? Go get some medals.
How cool would that be?
I know, right? Like do the LA route with the track and then standing tennis. I wasn't even aware that was sort of on the cusp of things. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And Australia, we love our tennis. Brisbane's a great home. The great Pat Rafters from Brisbane.
Exactly.
So we've got some iconic Queenslanders who are tennis players. So get on board it. I like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Have you been to Australia before?
I have. Yeah. We competed in the Oceanic Open in 2019, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. We were only there for about 4 days.
Whereabouts? Whereabouts were you?
Brisbane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I'm originally from Tasmania, but if I'm to rank I live in Melbourne right now, which to me is the best city in Australia. Brisbane, better than Sydney. A lot of people are going to get pissed off that I say that, but it is. Like, let's be honest. Sydney's like, it's like, to me, almost like an LA. Like, there's nothing wrong with LA. It's a fine city.
Yeah.
But, like, you're going to go to New York or Chicago over LA. Like, there's better things to do and the people are friendlier and just, like, hello to all our Sydney listeners, by the way. I'm just shitting all over you. I lived there for a couple of years. I'm allowed to say it. I was basically a local. We're going to get to some get to know fun wrap-up questions in just a second, Brianna.
Sure.
But one thing I love sort of looking through in your journey, just your social media pages, your TikTok. I always love people on TikTok and kind of everything you're doing here. And I just love sort of just this level that you're posting these like inspirational quotes and things along those lines and just everything along that way. Like how important is that to you to to share things like that, help inspire other people as well out there, and really, I guess, give them a taste of everything that you've overcome, and you're still overcoming, obviously, on this journey of yours?
A lot of the times it's for myself. It's not really for anybody else, to be honest with you. And if you find inspiration in it, fantastic. That's great. But a lot of the times it's a reminder to myself. I don't know if you're speaking specifically about my reposts or my actual posts.
I'm looking at, there's one here that you've posted, and this one I think was about a year or so ago, but you're sort of talking about if you were to ask you why you keep chasing your dream, you would tell you love winning and making people proud.
Yes.
And then you have the one where you say on a deeper level, and you then go on to say, I tell you it's because I have always had this strong belief that I am meant for something more in life, that I am meant to take my disability and turn it into the most amazing thing that ever happened to me. I tell you it's because I have this unwillingness to give up until I have turned every failure into a success and have made something of myself. I mean, that right now makes me want to hang up on you and go and like do a run or something like that. But, I don't know. I feel like I'm wasting my time sitting here in front of a microphone. Like, come on,
let's go, get on the track.
Let's go, right? Like, I mean, that sort of stuff. Like, I love it. Really, it motivates me.
Thank you. That was at the moment I was really struggling in track, and that's why I put that together, because it was after practice, and I, mentally was going through it, and I was just like, okay, like I need to hype myself up somehow. And so I just put that out there. But yeah, no, I think social media could be the worst thing. It could be the best thing. And I try to tailor it to, improve my mindset and just kind of follow pages and post things that keep me motivated and keep me locked in, and reignite that spark when it kind of dims. So
well, I appreciate that works, and I think on those levels, and you get TikTok more than we do. Like, we just post crap that we put on our Instagram, and I'm old, Brianna. I don't get TikTok, right? Come on. I still think it's a Kesha song. That's about as far as I go.
Oh my goodness.
That it goes that way.
What is a Kesha song? You're right.
Yeah, like I literally remember when it became a thing, and everyone's like talking about TikTok, and I'm like, oh, Kesha's back. Yeah. Good for her. And then all of a sudden I realized it was an app, and that's when you know you're old. When all of a sudden you're going like, that's a song, isn't it? 'Cause I still remember Vine. Do you remember Vine? That was fun.
Yes, that was the best.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So fun.
Oh, bring back Vine. Those were good days. Now, as I said, Brandon, we wrap up every interview set of 10 questions. We ask these to all our guests, standardized ones now, and these range from fun, silly, to deep. We always end up on a very deep one, which I think you're going to like. But I'll start with the number one question.
Let's do it.
What's the one thing you never leave home without when traveling to a competition?
So a competition? I try to always have a cherry glacier Gatorade.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Is that just...
Yeah, I don't know.
The flavor gets you going, or is it just something that, it helps?
I was training in Oklahoma, and my coach was like, "Do you want a Gatorade?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I strictly only drank the red Gatorade like forever. And then I tried that flavor, and I was like, "Oh my God. Like, what have I been missing?"
You're done.
And it just reminds me of that time of like getting, hustling really hard and getting ready for like the biggest moment of my life. So I just like to have one on me whenever I go compete.
I like that when attraction takes you back to that moment, right? Like that's, flavors of foods and all that sort of stuff. Love hearing that. A traditional superstition, I mean, this might be your traditional superstition then just on that, but do you have any other traditions or superstitions you follow before every big competition?
I'm trying to think. I feel like I always listen to the same music. Like Eminem is always in my ears. Yep. At least one song, and 50 Cent. Like both of them you could definitely find on my playlist before heading into whether it be like a ring or the track. Yeah.
You literally answered the next question, which is what is a song on your playlist? Is it like, I'm thinking, is it Lose Yourself? Is it Into Club? Like those sort of real hype pump up songs, or do you have anything other than those two?
In the Club is definitely on the list for sure. Business by Eminem is definitely, yeah.
Underrated. I'm not taking away from Lose Yourself. Iconic.
1,000%.
Business
so underrated.
That's a great hype up song for an athlete. Let's get down to business. Like, come on.
100%.
Oh.
Yeah. Like when I have it in my ears and I'm doing my warm up, I'm like, I'm going to crush it. Like this is just gonna be amazing, So
Go to
that
town.
and Pop Smoke. I love Pop Smoke too before
Oh,
competitions. So
nice. Okay, I like these answers. There you go.
yeah.
Changing my playlist. The most unexpected or funny DM that you have ever gotten as a Paralympian. You're not allowed to answer being invited onto this show, by the way. That is off limits.
Um, I don't know if it was necessarily a DM. I think it was a comment somebody made. I like posted a thank you tribute to my physical therapy office,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody like made like an angry comment about how like they weren't part of the sport, so they didn't help me, and like I'm not disabled or something to that effect. It was just so out of the box.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like so angry in the moment, being like, what? You
Yeah.
know?
Wow.
The negative comments like really take me by surprise sometimes because it's like, did you listen to the video? Did
Mm.
you like it's one thing to watch it, but if you're not hearing the voiceover a lot of the times, like I look like an able-bodied person and I'm proud of that. It's great, fantastic. But I have a physical disability. So that stuff kind of takes me by surprise sometimes because it's like you're watching it, like fully watch it. Don't just like,
It's like people just
half-ass it and
sometimes
then
have their viewpoint without even
yeah,
barely listening, right? They're
yeah,
just on an agenda and they just want to reply. But
100%.
yeah, this is a very interesting. I always love this question just to hear that there are a bunch of dickheads out there. Let's be honest. Let's call it how it is.
Definitely.
Yeah, just
100%.
just fascinating. Yeah. The weirdest thing you've ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Ooh. Weirdest thing I've ever eaten. I'm gonna say we were in Italy
Mm-hmm.
and we had been without food for almost 24 hours at the point. We were starving.
Mm-hmm.
Competition went from like 8 a.m. to like 12 a.m. the next day.
Wow.
And I'm sensitive to gluten, but I was starving. So my teammate went out and found like some random cart that had like selling sandwiches. And I had the weirdest chicken cutlet sandwich I've ever eaten. And I got so sick on the way home. Like,
Damn.
so sick. Yeah.
Wow.
And it
What
was a
made it weird?
17-hour flight.
What was it? Just the flavors?
Just a
or?
taste.
Right.
It was
okay.
just a taste. Like, it didn't taste like a normal sandwich at all. But when you're almost 24 hours without food,
you'll eat whatever you need
to.
Yeah.
14 hours at that point. Like, I was just like, I need to eat.
Okay.
And yeah. Bad decision.
Note to myself when I'm in Italy next year, don't get a chicken cutlet sandwich from a food cart.
Not from a random cart. No, don't do that.
I'll remember that. On the good side of food, though, Brianna, do you have an ultimate guilty pleasure meal that you always eat after a big competition?
Look, my favorite, like, guilty pleasure, and I try to make it not so guilty pleasure, but Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
I
yes.
love Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Speaking my language.
Love Chick-fil-A.
Same.
Yeah,
It's
grilled nuggets, large fries, sweet tea.
You know what annoys me? Like,
yeah.
I love that so many fast food chains from the US have made their way down under. It's great, but like Chick-fil-A and Popeyes are the two that have not made it down here.
I haven't had Popeyes yet.
Oh, it's not Chick-fil-A levels.
I'm missing out.
But like when I was living in New York, like it was Chick-fil-A and Popeyes. I lived off the stuff. I mean,
it's fantastic.
Oh, it's so good. And I always like, I don't know about you, but for some reason I always crave Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. And you're like, oh wait.
Right? When you can't have it, of course.
I can't have it today.
And I'll be like, oh, I'll get it tomorrow. And then I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I forget about it.
And then you don't want it. And the sauce and the fact that you guys sell the sauce in the supermarkets. Oh,
yes.
So good.
Amazing. It's dangerous that they sell it.
It really is. It really
outside of the store.
I just want to say to people in Australia who think that like, because Australian KFC is actually way better than American KFC. There's like a whole secret to it. Like I can send you a video. It's weird, right? So our KFC, pretty good, but it's not Chick-fil-A good. So
no,
just to
I would say Chick-fil-A is like the top of the food chain for sure.
Yep, 100%. I would agree with that. If you, this is an interesting one because you've swapped sports, and you might be doing a third one. But let's say right now there's another one that you want to try, Brandon. So if you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, Paralympian, what event would you choose, and how do you think you'd fare?
So take away my disability, I would love to go try Olympic trampoline.
Oh, yes.
I watched the 2016 trampoline competition, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just bouncing as high as possible and putting in as many flips as they can. I don't mean to like I'm so uneducated in it, but just watching it, I was like, oh, that's amazing. Like
Yeah.
that is so cool. And it looks like so much fun. So I'd love to try that.
It's one of those because like growing up, I think every kid goes on a trampoline at least once in their life. And
Right.
to think that like of all these random childhood activities that you do that really you think, oh, this isn't an Olympic sport. That is an Olympic sport,
Right.
like just, yeah, no, that's epic sport.
Crazy.
Love that answer. I also love this
Yeah.
question. So if your Olympic journey were a movie, what would the title be and who would play you? Don't know if you've ever been
I
given
think,
a
like,
doppelganger who's anyone who you look like or something like that.
I think the title would just be Perseverance. Because I've had to,
Perseverance. Okay.
yeah, like with a period at the end, like
Yeah.
just like really making that statement.
I like that.
So many shifts. So, and who would play me? I genuinely don't know.
I'm saying maybe like a Sandra
Like,
Bullock could play you.
yeah,
Sandra
probably.
Bullock. I can see a bit
Yeah.
there. That works.
Yeah, people sometimes say I look like Kendall Jenner, so like maybe, but she's
yeah.
not a movie
I could
star.
see.
So.
But another one I was thinking
Yeah.
was a bit maybe like a Dua Lipa because she acted in that Argyle movie recently, didn't she? So,
Okay. Yeah.
I could see that.
Who knows?
That works.
Yeah. That would be really cool though.
Yeah, we generally at this
Yeah.
point do have like an AI generated poster, which I will say I didn't get involved for this one, but given that I've gotten your title now, we'll get that made and then we'll put that up on our social media when we put.
Oh,
this
that'd be
episode up.
fantastic. I'd love to see that.
See how that turns out. Two more,
Awesome.
the deep ones that I sort of end this on. What is the one question you're tired of being asked, and what is the one that you wish people would ask you instead?
The first thing that comes to mind is what's next? Like, what are you gonna do?
I'll go edit that question out from earlier then that I asked. So that's all right. Always
No,
puts
look,
me on my place,
look,
this question.
Look, it's a natural question, and I think a lot of athletes can relate just to like wanting to be in the moment and celebrate the moment, or to feel whatever they're feeling in the moment. When I was really struggling earlier this year, like I didn't know what I was going to do tomorrow, so sometimes thinking so far down the line is just so daunting. And it's like, I don't know because I can't, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. So I can't answer that question. Plus, I feel like it comes with a weight, like a expectation of, oh, you're going to be at the next one, right? Like, and if you're not, why not? Like, you're young enough, you're healthy enough, like, why not? So, that's just my opinion. I think it's also an important question and a healthy question as well, because I think in life you're always chasing something. If you're not chasing something, you're not living. So that question needs to be asked 100% all the time. I don't know.
All the time.
But
Not all.
in
Sometimes.
general, yeah, it should be asked. Yes.
Yeah.
So.
And is there one that you wish people would ask you instead? Like, maybe something to do with your career or life that maybe you'd like to answer a bit more?
Nobody's ever asked me that.
There's a question. People should ask you that more.
Right. What question do you want to be asked?
Yeah. It's all right.
Maybe like, if you could go back in time, what would you change?
Okay. All right. I like that.
I'm in a very deep moment of reflection right now in my time. So, and I think about it a lot. So
I'll steal it then. What would you change if you could go back in time? What would you change?
I think there's a lot I would change. I mean, we could be here for another 2 hours, but I won't do that to you. The first thing that comes to mind is I think I just wouldn't have moved to the training center as soon as I did.
Right.
I think I was on such an uphill with the like plan that we had in place, like with the treatment, with the training like methods that we had, and like the periodization and just the way everything was laid out. Like, I have a trainer from One More Rep. Shout out, Joe. Love you.
Okay.
He just really built up my mental without even trying. Like, just to share a quick story, like, he put me on the assault bike all the time because it really mimics how I feel in the 200. And I was wearing my Apple Watch, and he's screaming at me while I'm on the assault bike. Keep going, come on, like the gold medal's at the end, whatever. And my Apple Watch warns me that I'm in too loud of an environment, and my ears are gonna like be damaged because he's yelling so loud. But I always say, like, I always think to myself, when he's that loud, my doubts are super quiet.
Wow.
And it conditions my mind. Like when I was running that 200 in Chile, all I heard was him at the end.
Wow.
Screaming. Yeah. And he wasn't there.
He probably was. He was just so loud yelling from back home that you could hear him.
Exactly. No, he was watching for sure. I know, because we talked afterwards, but he wasn't physically there, and I could still hear him in my ears. So just taking away certain things that I didn't realize had such a big impact on me at the time. And they always say not to make massive changes the year of a Paralympics or an Olympic Games, just because you're so set in your ways. But I, at the time I thought it was the best option for me, and who doesn't? It's the Olympic Training Center, and it could have gone fantastic. Unfortunately, it did not. It is what it is. But that is something I would have loved to go this year and then train the full quad. This way, like, instead of 6 months to go from 15.9 to 14.4, you got 4 years now to go from whatever your starting point is to whatever the next, you have 4 years. Yeah. So, it's just you live and you learn, and that's just the way it went. But that's something I would change for sure. So.
And then you can also add next to Eminem and 50 Cent Joe on the headphones.
Exactly.
To be like yelling at you.
Just like record him screaming and then play it back when I'm
motivation.
When I'm training.
Get him to rap to business. Maybe his speeches.
Perfect. 1,000%. I'm going to tell him that tomorrow.
Take it for free. You're more than welcome. The last one we asked, Brianna, the deep, meaningful one. You've sort of touched on this a little bit, but I'll ask it anyway. What is one lesson you've learnt from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
I think losing keeps you hungry. Not that winning doesn't, but everything is more meaningful when you obtain that win after losing. So I'm not saying you should aim to lose by any means. Do not do that. But there is so much, like, it makes everything else so much sweeter when you do attain it. So don't take it as the end all be all, and like take the time you need to recover from it, and don't dwell on it too long, but use it. There's a lot of power in it.
Great answer. And I'd like to send that along to some of my sporting teams I follow, who I feel deliberately try and lose half the time. So maybe they need to hear that advice and realize
send it their way.
That's not what you do when you play the said sport. That's another story. Brianna, this has been so much fun to learn about you and your journey and everything going forward. I touched on TikTok that you've got, Instagram, social media. Where can people follow your journey?
So Instagram is at Brianna Salinaro, my name, 2 N's in my first name. And TikTok is at B Salinaro. Because
there is another Brianna, but it's spelled differently, a Brianna Salinaro, but I think it's slightly...
Is there?
And I think, like, she's one of these ones who claims to be an influencer. So it was kind of like when I Googled it and it came up with something. I'll have to find it because it's...
You're going to have to send that to me.
It's spelled...
I need to see that.
It's spelled differently. I feel like I need to find this now, because this was like... It was funny when I looked into it. And I was like, wait, this is definitely not who I'm meant to be looking up right now in terms of getting interviews and everything. I'm dragging this interview out because now I need to back up my own facts, what I'm saying here.
Do it. I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, now, of course, it's making a liar out of me. But I will find it, because there was definitely another Brianna Salinaro that was coming up there for 1 minute. But it's been an honour to chat with Brianna. Best of luck with everything moving forward. And we'll get you back on to talk about LA, Brisbane, and the 28 other sports, no doubt, that you're going to be going off to compete in the future.
Sounds good. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I had such a good time.